Well, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to welcome everyone to the Sabbath-day conference call. This is Barbara. I'm serving as your host today, and we have a wonderful fellowship group here today with us. And I hope if you want more information about the Creator's calendar that you'll go to our website, lunarsabbathday.com. Today, this title is pretty familiar. Maybe you've watched the video Papacy Boast About Calendar Changes. This is very similar. I just changed a little bit of it, but I thought we would update it because it's been a few years since we did the old one. Did you know that the Catholic Church boasts that the calendar that we follow today, including Seventh-day Adventists, is a calendar that was devised by the Catholic Church. So it's a Gregorian calendar, and there are many Saturday Sabbatarians in the world today, not just Seventh-day Adventists. But the Catholic Church does boast that they made these calendar changes. So we're going to be covering some of those quotes today. So they changed the calendar. The Catholic Church has always been very open about her role in changing the calendar. Modern Sabbatarians have assumed that Saturday was the Bible Sabbath, but the Catholic Church herself has never denied the role she played in rejecting the lunar solar Sabbath of the Bible and promoting instead worship on Dies Solis, the day of the sun. And the decision of the Council of Nicaea to set aside biblical calendation was merely confirmed by Constantine in royal edict. The bishops wanted to destroy any ties to Judaism. Anti-Semitism played a role, as can be seen in the previously quoted statement by Constantine. So let us have nothing to do, this is what Constantine had said, and I will leave these links below. Let us have nothing in common with this odious people, and that's referring to the Jews. So they wanted nothing in common with the Jews. So, Brother Keith, would you go ahead and read this from Patrick Madrid?
Patrick Madrid, in a radio interview on January 5th, 2006, made a point of this. There was a distinct break between the Old Testament requirements, the rituals and Mosaic covenant demands dealing with the Sabbath worship and animal sacrifices and that sort of thing, and they wanted to show that Christianity was distinct from Judaism. It came from Judaism, but it was distinct from it.
And we're going to hear more about that interview in a little bit. And, okay, here is another quote from Alexander Hyssop in his book, The True Babylons. Okay, Brother Keith, would you like to read this also?
In endeavoring to show this distinction, not only was the observance of the Seventh-day Sabbath transferred to the Julian Sunday, but all of the annual feasts which, up until that time, were still observed, were replaced with popular pagan festivals, giving them a Christian slant and incorporating Christian names. To conciliate the pagans to nominal Christianity, Rome, pursuing its usual policy, took measures to get the Christian and pagan festivals amalgamated, and by a complicated but skillful adjustment of the calendar, it was found no difficult matter, in general, to get paganism and Christianity, now far sunk in idolatry, to shake hands.
And another quote from T. Enright, Bishop of St. Alphaeus Church. He clearly states, it was the Catholic Church which made the law obliging us to keep Sunday holy. The Church made this law long after the Bible was written. Hence, said law is not in the Bible. And the Catholic Church abolished not only the Sabbath, but all other Jewish festivals. And I'll leave these links below for you to look up. But why don't we pause here? We are in our fellowship group today. Does anybody have any comments about Constantine or the Catholic Church getting rid of all the Jewish festivals, and that also included the calendar in the heavens, the Sabbath that is by the calendar in the heavens? stopping a little bit later. Well, this letter, Enright also offers all this money, offers $1,000 to anyone who can prove to me from the Bible alone that I am bound under the grievous sin to keep Sunday holy. And there's no denying that the Catholic Church is responsible for the change. The commandments or decalogue written by the finger of God on 2 tables of stone, this divine code was received from the Almighty by Moses amid the thunders of Mount Sinai. Christ resumed these commandments in the double precept of charity, love of God, and of neighbor. He proclaimed them as binding under the new law in Matthew and in the Sermon on the Mount. Anyways, this quote is, he offers $1,000 to anyone that can prove Sunday is holy. But actually there's a double counterfeit, because Saturday is not in the Bible either, and neither is Sunday. So any comments, anybody? Have you ever seen this before, offering this reward for Sunday, keeping Sunday holy? Have you ever heard of this? Actually, I have this in my Bible. I have a dollar bill, a fake one, with this. When I was keeping Saturday Sabbath, I have it there by Ezekiel 20 that talks about the Sabbath. And it's a reward of $1,000 to anyone that can prove Sundays in the Bible. But I heard about this a long time ago when I kept Saturday Sabbath. So we will find out today also that Saturday is not in the Bible. Okay, go ahead, Brother Keith, and continue.
It is not really fair to accuse Roman Catholics of dishonesty when all along they have said that their church changed the day of worship to Sunday. Following is a sampling of the numerous statements made by Catholics honestly stating that they are responsible for the calendar change that transferred worship to Dies Solis. The Sunday is purely a creation of the Catholic Church. American Catholic Quarterly Review, January 1883. Sunday is the law of the Catholic Church alone. American Sentinel Catholic, June 1893. Sunday is a Catholic institution, and its claim to observance can be defended only on Catholic principles. From beginning to end of Scripture, there is not a single passage that warrants the transfer of weekly public worship from the last day of the week to the first. Catholic Press, Sydney, Australia, August 1900. They, the Protestants, deem it their duty to keep the Sunday holy. Why? Because the Catholic Church tells them to do so. They have no other reason. The observance of Sunday thus comes to be an ecclesiastical law entirely distinct from the divine law of Sabbath observance. The author of the Sunday law is the Catholic Church. Ecclesiastical Review, February 1914.
So because this change occurred so long ago, people today have forgotten the facts of history. And it is impossible to find the biblical Sabbath via a pagan calendar. Therefore, Saturday cannot be the true Sabbath. In not knowing this, Saturday Sabbatarians have assumed that Saturday is the Sabbath from which worship was removed. And it is true that there are plenty of quotes from Catholic writers that refer to Saturday as the Sabbath. And the facts of history having been forgotten by most people, many Catholic writers have used planetary week terminology, like Saturday, which could be considered deceptive. It is also likely that many of the Catholic writers themselves are unaware of the full history behind the modern week. Catholic scholars have always known the truth, though. And as conservative Catholic scholar and apologist Patrick Madrid stated, Brother Keith, would you read this? Patrick Madrid stated this on a national radio station, and here is the quote.
Starting with the facts of history?
The calendar in the blue there, right here.
The calendar that we follow, including Seventh-day Adventist is not only a calendar that was devised by the Catholic Church, but also it is a calendar that's based upon the solar year, not the lunar year. And the Jewish calendar that was observed in the time of Christ follows a lunar calendar, which is several days short of the solar year. So the great irony is that even the Seventh-day Adventists themselves are not worshiping on exactly the same Sabbath day as the Jews of the time of Messiah.
Thank you. Well, why don't we pause right there? There's a lot of us that do have a Seventh-day Adventist background here on the call. Others don't, but there are some that do, and I'm one of them that has Adventist background. It's just really alarming that the Catholic Church knows about the true calendar, and they know our church is following the wrong calendar, the church we came from. Any comments from any of you? Okay, we'll go forward. Maybe at the end we'll hear something. Over the centuries, as the facts of history have been forgotten, Saturday has been assumed to be the biblical seventh-day Sabbath. However, when the Julian calendar was being enforced upon Christians for ecclesiastical use, no one at the time confused Dies Saturni with Sabbato. All knew that they were two different days by two distinct calendar systems. An excellent example of Saturday being knowingly or unknowingly substituted for Sabbath is found in the canons of the Council of Laodicea. Go ahead, Brother Keith.
I've got something in the way of a couple of the words. After the Edict of Nicaea, apostolic continued to worship by the lunisolar. The Council of Laodicea was convened approximately 40 years later to enforce the acceptance of the Lord's Day in place of the lunar Sabbath. In order, therefore, to the accomplishment of her original purpose, it now became necessary for the Church to secure legislation extinguishing all exemption and prohibiting the observance of the Sabbath so as to quench that powerful protest against worship on Sunday. And now the truly divine command of Constantine and the Council of Nicaea that nothing should be held in common with the Jews was made the basis and the authority for legislation, utterly to crush out the observance of the Sabbath of Yahweh and to establish the observance of Sunday only in its stead.
So to crush out anything in common with the Jews, that would be the feast days and the Sabbath. Canon 29 of the Council of Laodicea demanded, Christians shall not Judaize and be idle on Saturday, but shall work on that day. But the Lord's Day they shall especially honor, and as being Christians shall, if possible, do no work on that day. If, however, they are found Judaizing, they should be shut out from Christ. So we know at the time of Constantine there was persecution if they kept the lunar Sabbath, the calendar in the heavens, or the feast days. There was great persecution. Roman Catholic Bishop Karl Joseph von Heffel, 1809 to 1893, states that the word Saturday is supplied in modern translations. According to von Heffel, the original word used in both the Greek and the Latin was actually Sabbath. The Latin version clearly does not contain any reference to Dies Saturni, Saturday, but instead uses Sabbato or Sabbath. Yeah, my son was talking to me last week, and he says, it's Sabbato, because they were here on Gregorian Saturday, as I taught my children to keep Gregorian Saturday Sabbath. And he says, Mom, what is Sabbato? And I said, it's Sabbath. But, it's not Saturday. I mean, here is the proof that it changed years ago and was substituted for the word Saturday, but originally it was Sabbato or Sabbath. Okay, and it bears repeating. Christians at the time of the calendar change were not confused over Saturday being the Sabbath. Everyone knew that Dies Saturni had recently been moved from the first day of the pagan week to the last day of the pagan week, while Sabbato was the seventh day of the Jewish lunar solar calendar with which no one in power wished to be associated. So, and we have done some YouTubes about this showing where Saturn Day was the first day of the week and it was changed and put down to the seventh day so that the Jews would have a seventh day for the Sabbath. And the day of the sun was put as the first day of the week. So again, these were two different days and two distinct calendar systems. There was a Saturn Day on a Gregorian calendar, and then on a Creator's calendar, that's the picture right here above. There's 6 working days and a Sabbath, 6 working days and a Sabbath, and that is on the Creator's calendar. It's always the 7th day of the week. Okay, here are some more quotes. Brother Keith, would you be willing to read them? We would like to hear them.
Eusebius of Caesarea, a church historian contemporary with Constantine and his frequent flatterer, is often quoted regarding the Sunday legislation of the time. It is generally believed that he was the priest that finally baptized Constantine shortly before his death. At the opening ceremonies of the Council of Nicaea, Eusebius sat to the right of Constantine and gave the opening address. Eusebius was very clear that the exaltation of Dies Solis was over the Jewish Sabbato and not over the pagan Dies Saturni. All things whatsoever it was duty to do on the Sabbath. These we have transferred to Yahweh's day as being more appropriate and chief and first and more honorable than the Jewish Sabbath. He probably didn't say Yahweh's.
Yeah, they probably said the Lord's Day, which the Sunday keepers call Sunday the Lord's Day. But we usually use the sacred names here, but we're doing quotes, so it's kind of hard to read them that way, isn't it, Brother Keith?
Mm-hmm.
So it was the Catholic Church which has transferred this rest to the Sunday in remembrance of the resurrection of our Lord. That's a quote. Thus the observance of Sunday by the Protestants is an homage they pay in spite of themselves to the authority of the Roman Catholic Church. And that's a quote too. So everyone is in homage and under authority of the Catholic Church. But also the Saturday that was changed is under the authority of the Catholic Church, isn't it? So a Catholic who believes that Yeshua was resurrected on Sunday is far more consistent than a Sunday-keeping Protestant who claims to base all his belief on the Bible and the Bible only. Catholics place tradition and the decrees of their popes ahead of the Bible. So there is no consistency for them in believing that Sunday is the day of the resurrection. For them, truth is whatever tradition and their pope decrees it to be. However, for a Protestant to denounce the Catholics for following tradition rather than the Bible, and yet still worshiping on Sunday, is inconsistent in the extreme. Furthermore, for Jews and Saturday Sabbatarians to insist that the precise correct day does matter to Jehovah, and that keeping the 7th day by the pagan planetary calendar is even more inconsistent. That's the Roman Gregorian calendar. So if it is important to worship on the true Sabbath day, then the original calendar established by Jehovah at creation needs to be used to calculate when that Sabbath comes. So we know the facts of the calendar are understood. It is clearly established that Sunday is not the only day founded upon pagan calendation. Saturday was too. So Saturday, Dies Saturni, the original first day of the planetary week, is a counterfeit of the true Seventh-day Sabbath of the Bible. And there are plenty of historical facts to back this up. And you'll see above the Roman Julian calendar was an 8-day calendar. Okay, the calendar of the Roman Republic was based on the lunar phases of the moon. It was replaced by Julian solar-only calendar introduced by Julius Caesar in 46 BC. Julius Caesar appointed Sosigenes, an Alexandrian astronomer, to design and reform the Roman Republic calendar. They decided to abandon the lunar calendar altogether. And the new Julian calendar ignored new moon days and instituted a calendar that was solar only with the days of the week designated by the letters A through H. And for those of you that were with us last week, Brother Gabriel was talking about this, how the Julian calendar did away with all the new moon days. So they were no longer recognized in the calendar. So we know that Constantine changed the Julian calendar from an 8-day week to a 7th-day planetary week. The Roman Gregorian calendar that is in place today is a modification of that Julian calendar. Still has no new moon days on it. And up here is a picture of those pagan planets where it showed Saturn day with the sickle as day 1, Sunday was day 2, see the rays of the sun, and moon day with the moon there. So Saturn day was moved way down to 7, and Sunday is day 1. And we've done quite a few, we've mentioned this in a lot of the YouTube, so I hope you'll go look that up. But you count the number of the gods on this calendar is what this says. So in October 1582, the Julian calendar was corrected by many days and promoted by Pope Gregory XIII. And here it is, 1582. And I know we showed this picture when we did Bible studies. When I was a little girl, we did Bible studies in people's homes. And we said, the calendar's never been changed because, look, it changed. No days have ever been lost. And this bothered me when I was only like 10 years old or 12. It showed October 4 that no days of the week or the year or the life had ever been lost. And then it continued on Thursday, the 15th. Well, yeah, 10 days were non-existent. 10 days were lost. There was a Sabbath day in there. There were a lot of days. 10 whole days were skipped out of the calendar. Yes, there was a calendar change, and it just was promoted by our church that nothing changed because it went from Thursday to Friday. So the Gregorian calendar today was created by Pope Gregory. It is a deceptive solar-only calendar. Although the weeks are 7 days long, it is nowhere near the true calendar. The Creator's calendar in Scripture is always calculated by the sun, moon, and stars. So an ancient proverb claimed, he who controls the calendar controls the world. Well, who controls you? The day on which you worship is calculated by which calendar you choose, right? So choose the calendar of Jehovah, the Creator of the heavens and the earth. And so for more information, to access more information, please go to our website, lunarsabbathday.com, and it shows how the days of the week were changed at the time of Constantine. There's a lot more information there about all the changes throughout history of the Creator's calendar. So thank you for everyone that's here today, and thank you, Brother Keith, for reading along, and I hope we'll all see you back next week. Yeah, willing. Yes, well, we're talking about Patrick Madrid and that quote that he made. It used to be on the Four Angels publication site, but we haven't been able to get the actual voice. But I have the document here. Sister?
Catholic scholar verifies neither Saturday nor Sunday is biblical Sabbath. Sabbatarians have long quoted Roman Catholics in showing that the Catholic Church admits that she changed the Sabbath to Sunday. One of the best known is in the Great Controversy, page 448. Romanists declare that the observance of Sunday by Protestants is an homage they pay, in spite of themselves, to the authority of the Catholic Church. That's in Plain Talk About Protestantism of Today, page 213. On January the 5th, 2006, Roman Catholic scholar and apologist Patrick Madrid made a startling statement of which every person who loves the true Sabbath should be aware. EWTN, Global Catholic Radio Network, hosts a call-in radio show entitled Open Line. A listener called in with a question regarding the allegation that the Catholic Church has changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. Madrid stated that the current Saturday is not the original biblical Sabbath, but that the change made by the Catholic Church was actually one of calendation. Following is a transcript of his statement. Well, what do we have to remember is, first of all, what Jesus said. He said, don't forget that man was not made for the Sabbath was made for man. And the Lord himself, we've told, was the Lord of the Sabbath. So he had the authority in areas as far as how we would observe that commandment. What your brother-in-law may not understand is that the Catholic Church did not change that commandment. The Catholic Church observes the commandment to keep holy the, I'm not sure what that is, the Sabbath. But it does so on the Lord's Day. And the earliest Christians transferred their observance of that commandment from Saturday to Sunday. First of all, because there was a distinct break between the Old Testament requirements, the rituals, and the Mosaic covenant demands dealing with the Sabbath worship and animal sacrifices and that sort of thing. And they wanted to show that Christianity was distinct from Judaism. It came from Judaism, but it wasn't distinct from it. Celebrating the Lord's coming, celebrating the Lord's resurrection and death on the day that he rose from the dead seemed to be the most appropriate. The other thing we should remember, too, is that our calendar that we follow, including Seventh-day Adventists, is not only a calendar that was devised by the Catholic Church, but also it is a calendar that's based upon the solar year, not the lunar year. And the Jewish calendar that was observed in the time of Christ follows a lunar calendar, which is several days short of the solar calendar. So the great irony is that even the Seventh-day Adventists themselves are not worshiping on exactly the same Sabbath day as the Jews of the time of Christ, because it's several days off now, having switched from and then following the lunar calendar.
Thank you, Sally. Yeah, because so this is writing down the actual transcript. So it gave his pauses and everything in there. So thank you. Any comments, anybody? Did you know about this statement by Patrick Madrid?
Sorry, it's windy right now. I didn't know there was such a clear evidence of that. I would love a copy of that paper somehow printed out. And I love your quote earlier. It is impossible to find a biblical Sabbath via a pagan calendar. That's a really powerful evidence there. That's amazing to share with our other friends and family. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, I wanted to add this on the end of the recording. Anybody else have a comment about this quote or anything we covered today? Yeah, go ahead, Brother Gabriel.
I would like to make a comment here. So, you know, the subject can become very simple and very complicated in the same time. But if you want to keep it very simple, we need to understand that these are two systems. Creation to year 325, it's one system, the creator system, with all its components that define times, order, Sabbath, worship, defines him, identify himself in the fourth commandment. And then you have the second system, 325 onward. And the confusing part is that when we mix these two systems together, you get Sunday as a day of worship and Saturday as a day of worship. But and we were not educated to understand in these terms and to make the subject very simple and clear. We were educated to be good followers and to count to 7. In Adventist church, I was never instructed and taught about the calendar. Yes, number 7, but whose 7 do we worship? Because in the Bible, Saturday cannot be found. So, very simple is to not mix these together and to understand every system individually. Because if you take, for example, the Gregorian calendar doesn't have the creator's signature. It's no authority whatsoever. It's just human thinking and interpretation. And Seventh-day Adventist Church, what they did, they mixed these two systems together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very simple.
Okay, thanks, Brother Gabriel. Yep. So, on whose seventh day do we worship? Which authority?